The refs finally screw up and actually cost a team a football game last night, ladies and gentlemen. It truly, truly happened. As our buddy Pixel Junkie throws in the chat room, epic fail. Epic fail. Now, obviously, there are numerous ways to react to this, numerous points of view you can have. But the one thing that I think is a consistent point of view.
There aren't numerous points of view on this. I'm sorry. There's really one point of view, and this is going to be the first time I'm saying it all year on this show. First time I can remember you saying it all year on this show. Really, the replacement refs got to go. They finally cost a team a game, and you cannot do that in the NFL. You cannot do it in a 16-game schedule. This isn't like an blowing a call in baseball. Baseball has 162 games. You can recover from one game. It is a lot tougher to do in the NFL. And this is the first instance of the refs actually costing a team a game. And this is, it was such a bad blown call. And really, there were two aspects to that play. One, how is there not offensive pass interference when Golden Tate blatantly shoved Shields right to the ground? And on top of that, the ball was intercepted. Tate had his arms wrapped around the defender's body, holding onto his body for dear life. He didn't have possession of that football at any time. It was a terrible call. The refs couldn't get on the same page, lacked communication, right down to the call. The first ref that got there that ran in from the side came in and was about to wave it as an interception. The second he picked his arms up, the second referee, mind you, that ran over from the goal line, came over, and because he saw the other guy's arms going up, which were only going up to call it an interception, instead he put his arms up as it was a touchdown. Then that's where the confusion and everything else sets in, because that was not a catch. That was not a touchdown. And if I'm Green Bay, I'm not only filing a formal protest, but I'm demanding, as we heard on the way in here, there is a rule in the NFL that gives Roger Goodell the power to overturn such egregious calls such as this one and overturn the result of the game. It needs to happen in this circumstance. You cannot let games be decided by these replacement refs, and I guarantee you by the end of tomorrow, I guarantee the real referees are back in place, because after last night's debacle, there is no chance in hell that these replacement refs make it past this weekend.
Now, I would just want, just in case you guys don't know, I had to find this. I had to find the rule to make sure that I knew exactly what I was talking about, knew exactly what I wanted to say, knew exactly how I wanted to go about this. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to read to everybody the actual rule that associates with what took place last night. Now the rule states, if a pass is caught simultaneously by two eligible opponents and both players retain it, the ball belongs to the passers. Now that didn't happen. It is not a simultaneous catch if a player gains control first and an opponent subsequently gains joint control. If the ball is muffed after simultaneous touching by two such players, all the players of the passing team become eligible to catch the loose ball. AKA, ladies and gentlemen, the bottom line of that is the simple fact that I have his name written down. Hold on, let me make sure I get it right. It was M.D. Jennings of Green Bay had clear possession against his chest. They go down together with Golden Tate having barely one hand on the ball. They come down to the ground, start wrestling for the ball. Jennings lets go of the ball, jumps up in celebration, and Tate holds on to the ball. Ref comes over, as Eric already pointed out. One ref goes to start waving for the touchback signal, ruling that it would be an interception. And the other ref comes over, throws up a touchdown. Now you have two debating calls. One of my biggest issues with these refs, and I've tried my best to bite my tongue on these guys because I felt like they've had a microscope on them more than any other referees I've ever seen. Referees get judged all the time. It's part of the job. You wear stripes, you're getting judged. That's simple. But these guys have had a magnifying glass on what they've been doing. And I've tried to just be like, all right, you know what? Everybody blows calls, this, that, and the other thing. It's part of the job, so on and so forth. This is a call you do not blow. What people may not think of right now is in 14 weeks, this game can determine Seattle getting a playoff spot over Green Bay. Or say Seattle doesn't even make the playoffs. This loss can stop Green Bay from making the playoffs because it's an in-conference loss.
Not only that, but this loss can also determine home field advantage. Say Green Bay gets into the playoffs, and they're fighting with, say, San Francisco for the top spot. This loss right here could cost Green Bay a trip to San Fran. Could cost them a trip to New York, to anywhere. Now they may be on the road playing instead of at home in Lambeau where they have an advantage.
It's a mess. It's simply a mess. And the sad thing is, from everybody I've talked to, everybody that I've seen talk about this on radio, on TV, they're all under the same agreement on the simple fact of the matter is that when you watched last night and what happened, it was a Green Bay interception. I've never in my life seen a bad call be made where everybody agreed that it was a bad call. Usually it's split. Usually it's like, oh, well, I feel this way,
anyway.
And I feel this way, and, well, this was the call. We got to live with it. Let's move on. Not one person have I heard say on radio, on TV, in Facebook, on Twitter, on anything, sit there and come out and say the refs got it right. Get over it. No, nobody. And that is something that when you have these debatable, quote unquote, I use that word lightly, debatable calls, you see two sides of the story. There's only one side to this.
Well, like I was telling you in the car, there's really only two ways that I could see the refs blowing a call this badly. Two things come to mind. One, they were either scared because they're in Seattle, they, and these replacement refs have had a tendency to lean towards going with the side of the home team, or like I was saying to you in the car, last night's point spread was a 3-point Green Bay point spread. It's the difference between them covering and them not covering. Well, that touchdown. Did somebody get to him and grease the refs a little bit? Did somebody grease the wheels a little bit?
Line those pockets.
Yeah. Well, listen, if you have somebody come up to you, somebody a little crooked nose comes on up and says, listen, hey, your job's going to be ending pretty soon. Everybody knows that you replacement refs aren't going to last forever. How'd you like to make a little money before you go? What are they going to say? No? Somebody says, I give you $100,000 to put in your pocket.
You don't want to believe that. You don't want to believe that happened, but
you don't want to believe it happened. But listen, crazier things have happened in sports.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, you can go back before there was.
Guys have blown games. Guys have thrown games. Guys have
shaved points. This, that, and the other thing.
I mean, it's happened with the NBA officials.
Just not even 5-6 years ago.
Not even that long ago.
Donahue, I think, is the ref. Yeah. He went to jail for that.
Yeah. Because it happens. Believe it or not, these things happen. And last night, Green Bay had a 5-point lead, and that touchdown, which means they would have covered, and that touchdown caused them not to cover. Could be a little something there. Either that or it was the home team advantage. Either way, the call was blown so badly, I cannot see a way Roger Goodell doesn't come out and say, listen, after league review, because they have to review that. It was so bad that literally you told me on the ride down, Clay Matthews tweeted out Roger Goodell's cell phone number for people to call him and give him, crap about this. And people should. Anybody is an NFL fan. I had my buddy Pat this morning text me and say, listen, if the Giants weren't playing a division rival next Monday, he'd be boycotting football right now.
I don't blame him. I really don't. And it's just something that a lot of people feel the same about. So, ladies and gentlemen, since Eric just mentioned that, I'm going to throw this out here real quick.
The review, by the way, just to throw out, Pixel keeps saying the review. Once a call like that is made on the field, now all scoring plays have to be reviewed. But with that rule and the way it's structured, they really couldn't overturn that call. You cannot put that on the review booth. That call was a call that was blown on the field. And because of that, there was not enough evidence in the replays to overturn it. Now, there is enough evidence by my own eyes, but not by NFL rule. They cannot overturn that. That is not on the booth review people. That is on the replacement refs that were on the field. It was a judgment call as to who caught the ball, and they can't review that aspect of it. All they can review is whether or not the guy was in bounds and came down with it. So as far as Pixel keeps saying that was more blown, that the review of it was more egregious than the actual call on the field. It wasn't. The call on the field is what screwed them, and these replacement refs have to go now. Unfortunately, they're probably going to be there for Thursday, but they need to be out for Sunday.
So Clay Matthews, the third, posts on Twitter Roger Goodell's phone number. So for those of you that might want it, 212-450-2027. That's from Clay Matthews, ladies and gentlemen, on Twitter. Twitter was nuts last night. I want to mention something that Pixel Junkie put in the chat room, and that is over $150 million shifted hands last night in the gambling world based on the outcome of that game at that moment. Now, what that means to anybody, it's really up to you. I really don't know how you feel about it. Me personally, I'm not a gambling man, but I will tell you right now, if I lost that money because of this call,
my dad got knocked out of his suicide pool because of this call. This call cost him whether or not he's still in the pool, which he's not because of that call.
Oh, you know what? That's actually a good point. $150 million just in the Vegas stuff, okay? Let's not even include, the people that lost in suicide pools that have to buy in every single week. The people that lost in their pick'ems that, some companies do pick'ems. You get yourself a free week off from work if you win the pick'ems. Not saying one game's going to probably determine that, but still, this game affects more than what is immediately meets the eye, I guess you would say. And I think what people need to realize more than anything is the fact of the matter is, yes, these guys are normal human beings and they're going to make mistakes. But when it comes down to something like this, all right, I can tell you from last year's experience alone as a Cowboy fan, a Week 3 game determines making the playoffs or not. Dallas doesn't blow that lead against Detroit last year. They take the playoff spot over Detroit in last year's playoffs. No matter what happens with the Giants game. Like, if the season continued exactly how it went, and that was the only thing you changed about the Dallas Cowboys season last year, they're in the playoffs last year and not the Detroit Lions. Week 3 games affect the playoffs. Week 1 games affect the playoffs. The thing, and that is where I am the most egged about this, is we all know Green Bay's good enough to be a playoff team. They're 1-2. They haven't looked that great. And there's a whole, and it's just, to me, it's like, you can't let these guys change what was actually one hell of a good defensive football game.
You can't let them be this deciding factor. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, is the refs should never be a determining factor of who wins and loses a game. Calls need to be made on the field, sure. Are some calls blown? Absolutely. But that call last night was absolutely horrific. Just to touch on what Pixel Junkie said. Pixel Junkie, just so you know, I was with these replacement refs a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and a month ago. I was okay with them up until last night's game. A wise man changes his mind. A fool never does. I saw the error in my ways. I changed what I thought. I was all for these replacement refs until last night. I was for them until they cost a team a game, and that's what I said all along, every week. If you go back and listen to what I said these refs have not cost anybody a game, and I stuck with them through that. They cost a team a game. They cost Green Bay an important game on the road that should have never come down to that. Now, granted, Green Bay could have played better and avoided being in that situation, but that call should have never have been made. That was the worst blown call I can remember seeing ever.
I personally have never seen anything worse.
I've never seen a call that bad.